Another nice, dreary North Carolina spring day. It has been raining so far today, creating another little mud puddle mess. The dogs love it though. And here we are coming up to the shop.
Well, welcome to another episode of the Urban Homesteading Channel with Professor DIY, Mrs. DIY, and behind the camera Elpida. So here we are. We were hoping we'll be able to work outside today, but Mother Nature had other plans for us. So we are going to work inside, and in order to do that, because we have a very large project we're building today, we need to prepare the shop. So we're going to spend a few minutes preparing the shop, and we're going to get right back with. So here we are in our shop, and we're happy we've built this bench. First of all, it was very easy to reorient, right, to turn it around. And secondly, because it's a big build today, this will make a big difference on our build, right? It will make it much easier for us. So we're going to go inside and talk about the build now. So here we are inside, and one of the first builds we did in the house, I don't know about the first, but an early build was this door, because this had no door, this opening to our bathroom. And we have really enjoyed it. We save a lot of money doing it, and it serves its purpose, right? We really like it, and we always wanted to do another one for our closet. Again, this being an older house is not very well thought. Not only the door open out this direction so you can hit it with the other door. Right. So, but the difficulty we had is another door here. As you can see, we don't have enough of space, which means we can either have one or the other door open, right? So recently we found a great idea for a door, and we wanted it to be a door that can move away and ideally move out of the way of this other door, right? So recently we found a very interesting piece of hardware for a barn door that actually folds, right? So we can be able to fold it this way, have it out of the way of the other door, and still look very similar to this, so the two doors will match. So today we're going to tackle this problem, and hopefully we're going to be successful. Well, friends, here is the after. We have removed the wide door, and we have, you want to pan between the two doors? They're similar style, shape, size. So the first order of business is to continue this board, and we need to go over it over here with on the door, so it will look like one piece, because we do need a header for our new door, right? It's a very similar design. So we're going to replace this old style door with hopefully something that will match our existing door over there and will make the house even nicer looking. Well, friends, here is the after. We have removed the wide door, and we have style, shape, size. If you have watched the channel for any period of time, you know by now that we do not like using measuring tapes. Instead, we like to mark our pieces on the existing space we need to put them, and that gives us a much better feel in general and avoid for us making mistakes. So this is exactly what we're doing right here. We are marking the dimension of the piece we're going to cut to extend the header that you see to your right. So we are going to cut this, paint it white, so when it is finished it's going to have a very pleasant appearance, and it's going to continue from one side of the room to the other side of the room without any difficulty. The header is important because in essence is what holds the weight of all of the doors. Even though the second door will be much lighter than the big one that we have for the bathroom, it's still going to be a solid wood door. We're going to make it as well. So we want it to be a very secure situation here, and we want our board to be able to support the weight of the door and also look seamless and look like it was always. All right, so we're making sure that our blade will clear our wood. Again, it's our preference to just barely go above the width of the board, right? We believe it's safer. That's all there is to it, right? And we're going to rip it to width.
1/8 of an inch off the width of this board so that it will match the top level of the other already existing header boards, right?
Correct. So all we have to do now is, do you want to dry fit it or we're comfortable? Okay, Mrs. DIY will go and dry fit it, and then if we're ready, this will be ready for paint. Our opening needs to be around 33 inches, and we have 3 boards that they're 10 inches wide. So we need to take 3 inches out of one board. We could take 1 inch from each board, right? But it's easier to take 3 inches out of one board.
So I'm just going to correct your math here. If you have 3 boards at 10 inches, that only gives you 30 inches.
12. What is this?
12-inch boards.
They're 12, okay.
And
so it's 36.
They are true 12s,
right.
Not the 11 and a half dimensional.
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay, and so the 3 boards at 12 inches gives us 36, which means we then need to take the 3 to get 33. Okay, so that's what we're set up here to do. We need to do that and come back because we have all hands on deck to get this cut done.
Right, yes. So in one of our past projects, I remember that we bought boards and they were not what we thought they were, and we end up, I don't know what we end up doing, but it didn't work out the way we wanted it, right? So just to double check, we check the board width and it is not 12 inches. So we do not have to cut anything, which is okay with me.
Yeah, at least in terms of the width.
We have to make them shorter, yeah.
Right, we do have to cut the length.
Yep. So the next step now is we're going to biscuit join them. Our header is ready and Mrs. DIY start painting it in our very expensive paint station that we created some time ago, you know.
But it's a really nice height.
Yeah, and it makes things easier, and we don't care if it gets dirty. I mean, as you can see, it's a hot spots of material. It is not really flat. All we do is paint on it, you know, so it's okay.
And burn. Sometimes we burn.
Sometimes we burn. Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't. And do you think that will need 2 coats?
I'm sure it will.
Okay, so we start that while we're doing the rest, so we don't just have to wait for paint to dry.
So we've lined up the boards. These are the 3 boards. We're not going to take any of the width off of them. And we want to see how they line up together because this is going to be a country style or rustic style door. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but we also don't want big gaps in between the panels that make up the door. So we've kind of done a little bit of rearranging to see if we can get the best fit without doing some joining. And I think we've got them pretty close. This one is a lot better now that we've moved these 2 around. And we do have a little, you know, maybe I don't even know what that is.
1/16 of an
inch gap. A tiny little gap there, which that's the best we can get without joining them.
And we will not join them again because this is a country barn door, right? If you wanted to make it look like a panel, you should join them. But we want you to be able to see the 3 boards, though, right? So
see 3 boards, but not like see
through, right? Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And then the other thing that you just spotted was
this. I don't know if it's sap, you know, resin or something. It looks like it could be sap that kind of stuck here in a smoosh. But I'm going to take that off because it's kind of rough to the touch, and I don't want to stain over that. Okay.
Stain is not very forgiving of other imperfections relating to just the chemistry of the wood. Things like glue or sap will show and will destroy the staining process. They will look really horribly. So using a light sanding with a high grit paper will remove those imperfections and will allow the stain to penetrate correctly and will give you a much better result. A light staining here is very, very important and will make your project perfect. For the record, this is exactly why we stopped using the old wet cloth cleaning method for the glue, and we just scrape the squeeze out, because no matter what you do, unless you sand it, it's going to show as a stain when you use your staining process, right?
Yep.
So it is better to scrape it, and if you have a little bit left, to sand it, than use a wet cloth and wipe it. So we've put the boards in the position that we like, right? The look. And we have aligned them to the best of our knowledge, to the best of our ability. So the next step will be to put marks for where our biscuits will go. And how many biscuits you would like to put per join? 5?
I was going to say at least 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all you need to do for biscuits, as you know, is just make a line that traverses the two boards, right? And that's it. And you are going to do that in all boards, 6 for each board, and they can be in the same spot. They're never going to be long enough. So I'm not going to show you all of them. It's the same process, right? And then we're going to get the biscuit joiner out and start cutting.
So as you can see, what we did is mark the boards, and then you match the marks on the boards up with the middle line of your tool, and then it just comes straight in.
So here we are.
We're always here, man.
As you know, we spare no expense in this channel. So industrial strength trash bags to the rescue, right, Elpida?
Right.
Because we do not want to glue our door to our desk, to our bench. Don't cut it, because then we can bring it here, right?
Okay, I've only cut one side.
Right. So cut the other side.
Okay.
So that we'll have enough length.
All right. Everybody's thought process is different here, people.
Yeah.
In case you don't know, there are 3 chiefs in the shop and no Indians ever, which makes for very fun days.
And there is a chief that is among all of them, and that's me. Anyway, because we spare no expense here in our channel, we're using trash bags to prevent our project from sticking to our bench, right? Very, very high-tech stuff. So we're going to do that, and we are going to show you a little bit of the process with the biscuit joiners. So we're ready to start the gluing process, and the way you need to do that is you need to put glue in all the biscuit openings and one side of the boards. Do not put glue in both sides. That's the important thing, I think, that I'm trying to convey. So we decided not to use our finger in this specific time, and we're using a tool, a very expensive tool I purchased in the dollar store, 3 for 99 cents, back then when it was 99 cents. And this is really a cake, what do you call it?
It's a cake icing
spreader, which works very, very well for spreading glue. So we've put our glue in, we brought our surfaces together, we have nice little squeeze up, and we have clamped it down, and now we're going to wait for the glue to dry, right? There is not much else we can do.
And again, we're not going to wipe this. We're going to allow it to dry, and then we'll take this scraper and scrape off the glue so we're not smearing it onto the surface of our board.
Because the plan for this is actually to be stained, right?
Right. And this kind of helps prevent the glue getting into the grain of the wood, which makes it stain differently.
Right. Here what we're talking about, as the glue starts to dry, we just remove it. Kind of neat, actually, right? I mean, look. No mess, nothing. It doesn't cause any difficulties, right? It's clean and nice, and you don't have to have wet rags around, and then when you do the staining, you don't have any blotching. Is that the right term? Blotching, right? Yeah, so we definitely have adopted this, and we have not looked back. So to cut our door to length, we're going to use our track saw, because that's the easiest way to do it.
In case you didn't catch that, you should probably wash your feet because the pieces will fall. Right?
Yeah. So we are done. We are cut to length, and we're doing the final scraping of glue. Very exciting thing, you know. But our door is cut to length, and now we're going to have to put the finished touches, and then we'll start staining it, right?
And part of that finishing touch is, of course, sanding. Right?
Well, only where we cut, because these are supposed to be finished boards, right? Whenever you're doing furniture or really finished pieces, sanding them after a cut will give you a much superior finish. The saw leaves a little bit of imperfection, so a little bit of rounding makes a perfect edge. So now we're going to take our trim pieces and we're going to square them. And after we square them, we're going to cut them to the appropriate length, right? And we're going to do that in all three boards. We have three boards that will make up our trim pieces. Keeping true to our mantra that we do not like to measure, we're going to use the first piece we cut as a measuring stick for our second piece. Both of those pieces should be identical. So again, by limiting the amount of times we measure things, we limit the amount of possible error we might have. So the next step, the dimensions of our first trim pieces are correct. So our next step will be to glue and screw the trim pieces down. So we're going to use glue and some screws to attach the trim pieces to the door. These trim pieces do not have any structural value. They might on the stationary part of the door, but definitely do not have any structural value to the rest of it. The ones that they're going to be across will provide some strength, however. This is an important step of the process, so take your time with it. It needs to be done correctly because it will be very visible. So make sure that you are aligned in both directions, both vertically and horizontally. Perfect here. We are going to clamp the piece, so we are going to ensure that while we're attaching the screws, the piece will not move. A very important step to have a very good result and something that takes only a second to complete.
And we're applying the clamps to make sure it's aligned. And then the next step will be to drill some pilot holes.
Pilot holes ensure that we're not going to split the wood, and it's a very nice precaution for a great outcome.
Really, we're just going deep enough to allow these screws to go in without splitting this very soft pine wood. Yay, that was a good one. So we'll do that all down the line, and then we'll come across and do the second one. Do the second side. Rinse and repeat. OCD, you can set your screws before you even make your pilot holes, so they're nice and pretty and evenly spaced.
Right. If you don't, your project will not come out right. This is a required step. The process for the verticals and the horizontals are identical. Having finished the two verticals, we're now installing the horizontal pieces that we made sure they're the correct size by simply measuring them on top of the door. Because the door here was over the edge of our bench, I did not want to hit it with the hammer. Instead, I'm using a small clamp to force it. It's a very nice tight fit, and the clamp does a great job of forcing it, and it's also a safer way, because if the clamp cannot do it, that means that your length is just too high to try to force it, or too long to try to force it. So by using the clamp, we know that we're not overdoing it, and now very nice taps ensure that we're going to be flush with the bottom of the door. But if you want to force it by tapping it, sometimes you're going to do damage to your verticals. As you can see, our horizontal piece is very nicely aligned, and a couple of screws will hold it in place. This also provides some structural support. So at this stage, you would have a very nice door. In fact, this is a very nice way to build a door if you have like a vacation home, a little cabin somewhere, something by the sea. I really like how this door looks. How about you, Mrs. DIY? Yeah. We're going to take this great door and cut it in half, but if you don't need to cut it in half, you don't have to, right? But I really like, even without finishing it, I love the way this looks. We have to finish it because we have to make it match the other door. Right. But in any case, this will be a nice sturdy door with a lot of meat for hardware, right? So for us, the next step will be to set our saw to cut this in half. So here we are, and now we'll either be successful or we're going to destroy our work so far, right? We are going to half this door. We're going to cut it in half. Now, we need all hands on deck, so we won't be able to film that. But the whole idea is we're going to push the door through our blade, which is set to cut through both those pieces, right? So we're going to do that, and we're going to show you the outcome. So guys, it was fun, right? It's one of those times we executed it very well. We needed one more person, however. It was a difficult cut, not something I would attempt by myself ever, right? Not in this saw. If you have a cabinet saw, maybe, but in our saw, you couldn't. But here it is, and you say, oh, I don't see anything different.
Oh,
Was that cool or what?
That was pretty cool.
Okay, so we do it again. So we have our two halves. All right, excellent. So here we are, and of course the part that everyone loves, that's reading directions on how to adjust that. And of course these people were reasonable and they put everything in millimeters, but we were challenged here to find something that reads millimeters, right?
Right.
So after some searching, we found an instrument that had millimeters, and we were able to correctly align everything we needed. And now we are ready to start the staining process. This is a very important step for our build because this is what is going to hold the bottom of the door to the floor. It will hold it stationary, will help hold it stationary. So here you need to take your time, read and reread the directions that come with your kit in order to ensure that you're going to do it correctly and you will not have any difficulties. Go ahead, Mac. However, if you take your time, this is not a very difficult thing to do. You just need to slow down and make sure you follow all the directions. Are you pressing that?
Yes, but it's sliding.
It is not sliding.
The whole door.
Oh, the door is sliding. You're almost there. I think that's it.
Yeah. Okay, you want to test the piece?
I think we need to go a little further.
Yeah.
And this is the pivot. What we're doing now is the pivot for the door, right?
Good.
Excellent.
And this piece actually is the part that it attaches to your floor to hold the door in place, and then the door will sit on top of that.
Correct.
And that's what makes it go pivoting.
Right. Unfortunately, we cannot let these doors stay this color, which I love, because we need to match them to the color of the doors we already have in the house, right? So Mrs. DIY is doing a test there to see if we remember which stain we used before. And what is the verdict?
Well, it wasn't this one.
Wasn't that one?
Are you sure? It looks pretty close to me.
Well, we're going to do the test, and if needed, we have the other door to compare to, right?
Parathane Wood Stain Classic. Espresso. Espresso. Espresso.
Espresso.
Espresso is a coffee. It's not a stain.
Right. But they're calling the coffee, the color, espresso. So the color is supposed to be like espresso.
I see. That's very odoriferous.
They always are.
Well, that one is low odor. It's a water-based, and this one is the normal.
I wish YouTube had the smell-o-vision activated, you know?
We need Wonka vision.
There is Wonka vision?
You don't know what Wonka vision is?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, let's see if that's the correct one.
Yep, that's the one.
Okay.
He lied.
It's almost the same. We're going to cover. I love for some reason this little door came out. Look at this. And we abused it and cut it in half and all kinds of things.
But it was very clean cut. Very nice clean cut.
That's the color we're going with.
So the plan now is Mrs. DIY is going to stain the doors. We're going to eat after the doors are stained and then assemble.
Because it's already 5-ish in the afternoon.
Yes.
What are we going to eat?
We have yet to figure that out.
Oh, I see.
I vote for food. Things were going very good until now, but things were about to take a turn for the worse, as the directions for our kits were absolutely horrific. So we're going to show you how to hang the door next week, because we completely ran out of time and we were unable to finish.
So you can see the grains already coming out. It's going to be really nice. It'll match the other door. We've got quite a bit to do, obviously. We'll come back and show you when it's all stained.
Yep. And here I wanted to show you just the comparison between the stained door and the unstained door, right? It is ultimately a matter of like and dislike. For us, we have to match it with our existing door, so we had to go with the stain. But regardless, I'm a really big fan of the unfinished wood look, right? But definitely you can see much more of the stain here, of the grain here. And this probably would rain very well because of this detail. This would probably be awesome, right? But you have options, and if you don't stand it, of course, it will be a little faster and less smelly. Even our equipment was tired at this point. As our microphone stopped recording, I think it ran out of battery. It has been a long day for everything, including our equipment. However, the process of hanging the door, as you can see here, we finished what was late at night, and the process of hanging the door will be the tale for our next week's episode. Until then, we hope you had a very, very good time watching this episode, and you're going to come back next week and watch how we actually hang this door with the tribulations we had, the mistakes we make, and the things we learn. It's going to be another fun episode, and I hope that you're going to join us again next week in the tale of how we hang this door. But you can see here that the result is very, very good. If you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the other button twice, share, like, subscribe, and let us know what else you might want to watch in future episodes. Let's build something together.